need to stop that coughing. It's like a ritual that I do by the looks of it. It's like I cough at the start of the video, clear my throat from the dick in my throat. No jokes. Bruh. Bruh. So, as you guys can tell from the title of the vidya, we are going to be talking about. First of all, I need to check the volume before I even get into anything, because I could be just blabbing on and no words could be received. Bruh. Bruh. So, as you guys can tell from the title of the vidya, looks like you can't even hear me. Title of the vidya, we are going to be talking about. Hello. First of all, I need to check the. Let's go properties before I even get into anything, because I could be just blabbing on and okay, no words could be received. Desktop audio, we need to get rid of that. What is up? What is up with me volume? That's so weird, man. Why is my audio doing that? My audio says it's all good on my end, and then all of a sudden, when I'm on the video on here, there is no words to be heard. How are we going? The hero, the hero, the hero, the hero. The hero, the hero. Yo, you can hear me, right? You can hear me, right? Okay, what about now? You can hear me, right? You can hear me, right? That's real interesting. AKA sus. That's another word for sus. I wonder what could possibly be stuffing up my video like that. Mic in use by stroke. What is stroke? No. Eh? A program that's not even related to the mic is using my mic. Like I said, Technologina. 'Cause I'm so fucking and I'm so fucking clean. That might work, I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. Never mind. It was me all along. Yep, it was me all along. See ya. I knew something was up. Just couldn't tell what. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way. That was fucking ridiculous, honestly, guys. So, sorry about that, guys. Fucking 6 minutes worth of me trying to figure out why my sound isn't working, and it was my computer was trying to play sound through my microphone, even though my microphone does not have a speaker. It has a headphone jack. But anyways, as you guys can tell from the title, self-explanatory. Need I say any more? I'll get into the video and then you'll be able to see why I've named the video this. Okay? But first, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to the live. Welcome to my stars live. Okay? We're currently 0 degrees into Aries season. Right? Saggy moon. It's actually my moon day. It's my moon day. Right, you know what that means, baby. You know what that means. It means it's time to celebrate because it's like a birthday, babe. It's like a birthday. Something beautiful, something gracious that we can enjoy, you know, all together, basking in the energy of Sagittarius moon, right? So it's all about expanding, escaping out of old paradigms, expanding into a new world, expanding into a new reaction or response to things, right? So, you know, are you going to be experiencing the same old shit and you want to escape that, or are you going to be experiencing something new that you're expanding into? Is basically the name of the game. And with the sun in Aries, it's going to be like brought into more of an extreme kind of energy, but it's still cusping Pisces, so it'll mellow out a little bit, you know. But Pisces can be nightmarish, so, you know. But, anyways, speaking of, just in relation to that whole thing, astrology in itself, right? You have the certain different signs and they represent the different characteristics of the different, some of them are animals, but some of them are man-made imaginatory figures, like the centaur. That's not an animal, that's actually a fantasy creation of someone's mind, right? But this gets into my whole topic of the video of why I even put this video up. It's because I've been watching stuff, like pretty much everything's like this. But it's definitely been coming up more than normal, where I'm able to see the blatant copying or mockery. I don't know what you would even call it, like, because copying and mockery is, it's not exactly the best word to be utilizing. Because I don't as well want people to see this video and think that I'm getting my knickers in a twist. No, I'm just stating the obvious of what I already know to be true. and that is that New Age spirituality is a commodified version of tribal cultures from around the world. And I can only really speak mainly from multicultural perspective, but you guys have heard me talk about Native American hobbyism on this channel before. And if you haven't, you know, I got plenty of videos. I got nearly 100 videos on my YouTube channel. So you can do the math. You can go and do the searching and all that and figure out where in my 100 videos, probably about 80 to 90 of them, nah, that's maybe a bit extreme. Maybe about 60 or 50 of them, I've probably mentioned Native hobbyism, Native American hobbyism at least once, even if it's just an inkling. And then in some of those videos, I would have given little segues of, oh, it's in this video. I'm not going to go too deep into that because I've made that many videos. It's starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm honestly not entirely sure about which video it was, or, you know, what the title might have been. Like, bitch, like, give me a break. Give me a break. But anyways, I can speak mainly from multicultural perspective, obviously. And, you know, if you're on YouTube, you can see my thumbnail. I put the little stingray there. This is actually a representation of my family's, um, kind of what you guys would know in English as an animal totem, but it's really a representation, an animal to represent the characteristics of our family and also our connection to the stingray, in representation of the different characteristics that it shows, like how obviously it's adaptable, it's a representation of fluidity because it's a water animal, right? You know, and it's also a very fluid type of animal, but it also has a barbed tail. So it's, well, I don't know if it has a barbed tail, but you know, it has something on its tail that it can utilize as a weapon, right? So it's to say that our family is represented by these characteristics. We're fluid and adaptable, but we also have that ability to be able to fight back when need be, or to be able to defend, or to be able to protect, or to be able to go to war, right? And this is a representation of like another form, an original form of how we looked at things from the perspective of looking at the different characteristics, which is actually traditionally and originally a concept that the Native Americans utilized more. And I say more because of the extent that Native Americans are able to go to in order to display these kind of characteristics. They're able to look at many different things in nature and extract characteristics from it, right? But it's the same in multicultural, and they call it animism, where you're able to take something in nature, analyze the characteristics, and utilize those characteristics in a form that is not necessarily animalistic like that, or is not related to the specific animal that you are trying to emulate the characteristics of. So you're able to utilize those characteristics in a different way, you know, because you're in a different form. And so astrology in itself is a form of animism, but it's copying animism, and it's Europeans' perspective of animism, which is also why they typically will call it Western astrology a lot of the time. And then you have Eastern astrology as well. But regardless, astrology itself is an adaptation of these traditional perspectives, these tribal perspectives that we are normally in. Because I was watching this movie called Wicked before, and it was just kind of like really obvious because you had like the yellow brick road, which represents the yellow, I think it's called the corn pollen path in, see, I can't even speak on this because I'm not part of that culture, so I may say something wrong. But you guys can do your research on the corn pollen path and you'll be able to find out more about that, right? And then all the talking animals in the show as well, representing like different cultures, specifically Native Americans, but also other cultures who use animism, who jump into the energies of animism. They represent those in the European movies as being our cultures. And that's why whenever you see talking animals in a show as well, they're usually like in some way they're oppressed or they're in some way like at risk of being wiped out or they're in some way like endangered or there's not that many of them. Like these are all representations of how they see us and how they want to see us as less than or you know as not many of us, and that's why they display us like animals. And a lot of other cultures as well who are not that deep into animism will also get this rep too, especially if they think similarly to cultures like Maori culture, Native American culture. And this is what allows them to kind of brainwash people into like subconsciously associating these different characteristics that they put the animals into as negative or lesser than and so on. And then on top of that, you also have New Age spirituality in general, which, because as I started to learn more and more about New Age and also just spirituality in general, the more I started to delve deep into it and the more wise I got as an individual. Because I don't even like to call myself spiritual anymore, especially after what I know. Because nowadays I look at it, I'm like, no, I'm literally just Maori. And even but pre-European times, we didn't call ourselves Maori. We had our specific tribe. We had our specific iwi, which we call in Maori. We had a specific hapu, which is like our sub-tribe in a sense, or like our family, our like extended family, right? And these are our governing systems that we utilized. So we were able to govern ourselves amongst our hapu, amongst our extended family. Especially my tribe. They were back during the times when the Europeans came, we were like a big point of trade as well. And we had a very strong standing in trade system amongst other Maori and amongst Europeans as well. So this is what as well allowed them to kind of see us as a threat and want to take us out. Because not only did they feel as though that we were lesser than, in a sense, but then they were also like, oh, if these people who are lesser than have so much influence and can garner so much support, that they see that as a threat. So the lesser than thing is really just a coping mechanism for them to try to put other cultures down and to try and say that they're more superior and then their system is more superior because that's the only way they can really stay in power is through manipulation tactics, is through trying to make other cultures look lesser than or like that we needed European culture in order to thrive and survive. All of these different types of things is the reasons why they try to portray other cultures, specifically Maori and Native American, as well as Aboriginal, any other cultures who kind of practiced that animism or had some form of a government. Because that's what a lot of people don't know. Like tribal societies, like that is a government. Like when we have iwi, we have hapu, when we have different tribes, those were our forms of government. So don't get it twisted and think that we were just like walking around willy-nilly and we didn't have any systems or we didn't have any rules or regulations. A lot of people don't even know that taboo. A lot of people don't know that word taboo in English is actually a Maori word. It comes from Maori and actually other Pacific Island cultures where we had certain laws and restrictions, and we would call those things tapu, which is forbidden. but to us it was more of a spiritual practice, but it also had ties in non-spiritual aspects too, like, you know, certain things that were common sense may be considered tapu. So there was varying degrees and levels of tapu. You know, some things were more religious or spiritual based, some things were more based in reality and shit like that. So, but yeah, the more I started to get into this and learn, oh my gosh, like about not only my own culture, but just spiritual knowledge in general. See, I don't even like that word because it gets a bad rep. But for lack of a better term at the moment, I'm going to use this term. The more I realize that spirituality is just a watered down version of what my culture naturally does. So, even down to how they have certain, nowadays you've got like certain spiritual gurus and spiritual leaders and stuff like that. Back in our days, like we had tohunga, which were essentially like medicine men, and they were very, very revered in our communities, and sometimes also feared in our communities too, depending on, you know, who you ask, where you were. And these things are nowadays kind of being provided to the general population as a watered down version. And so a lot of people are just getting onto that wave of new age spirituality when really that's just kind of a representation of what we were already doing. You know what I mean? So that's why I get more and more deeper into my knowledge and my wisdom of this, and I start to realize, like, actually, this is just my culture. Like, the more I learn about it, I'm like, this is just my culture. Like, I can't even see it any other way. So if people ask me, you know, like you're spiritual or you're this or you're that, I'm just like, in my mind, I'm just like, I'm Maori. Like, that's it. Like, actually, if you want to get specific, Ngāti Awa, Te Whakatohea, Ngai Tūhoi, you know, there's a few different iwi in my family line, especially, you know, in that general area, we obviously intermingled because bitches weren't just fucking their cousins and you know, shit like that. Like, no, we obviously intermingled amongst each other. So when you look at our systems, a lot of people will try to say, oh, Maori people are violent, and which, you know, to a certain degree, yeah, but also it wasn't for no reason. It wasn't generally for no reason at all. We had specific reasons and specific meanings behind why we would even instigate certain things such as violence and so on and so forth. And we have a deep reverence for the dead, and we have a deep reverence for our tipuna, or what you would call in English ancestors. So it wasn't always just what they try to portray it as, because they try to portray Māori as like these like kind of warlike culture and everything like that. But if you actually look at the haka, which is what's like the commodified version nowadays, they try to put it in like rugby and, you know, our sports and everything. They have the haka, which is like world renowned. And if you hear the haka, like, or if people hear you're Māori, that's the first thing they go, oh, I love the haka. But like a lot of people don't realize or even get the message of the haka. It's not just about the fact that they're sitting there and they're doing a war dance. It's the concept of what they're doing in itself. Being able to coordinate a large group of people prior to going into war, doing a dance, preparing yourself, and being able to have that cooperation, that community together, and then dancing just before a war and doing chants, calling upon your tipuna for strength, right? These were our ways of connecting to our spiritual system. So even though we were doing something violent and something very, very negative in a sense as war, we would utilize these spiritual systems as ways of kind of cleansing and kind of preparing the spirit and the mentality to actually be able to do what is righteous and to not go into such horrible bloodshed that would end in like more negative circumstances being bred rather than positive. And not only that, it's a show of strength. It's a show of mana. You know, if you saw my last video, you will know a little bit about mana. It's a show of mana, you know, to show how much mana you have by not giving a fuck about the actual fight, not giving a fuck about whether you're actually just gonna get killed or shot or whatever. Instead, you're just like, no, I'm gonna stand here. I'm gonna do my freaking chant. I'm gonna do my war dance, and I'm gonna show my fucking mana, basically. And that's why, as well, it takes me back to that story about how they talk about how Captain Cook came when he first met the Maori, and they say that he saw them doing the haka, and he thought they were trying to instigate a fight, and so he shot them, and he got afraid and said that it was a misunderstanding. But that, to be honest, that doesn't make sense to me, because body language is always a thing. Even if two people speak a different language, you can always tell through their body language. And if someone's doing a dance versus someone actually trying to fight you, you can tell the difference. You know what I mean? It's very obvious. If anything, it was probably more like this. James Cook was scared shitless at these people doing a war dance and thinking, what the fuck? And if anything, he was even more afraid because he shot them and they probably still continued to do it. I would not doubt they would have still continued to do it. And he would have been even more afraid, like, how the fuck are these people still doing their war dance after we literally just showed them that we have guns and that we shot them. And that's why he went and got, they said he went and got a Tahitian priest or something like that to come and translate. Which still doesn't add up, doesn't even make sense at all. Because if you look at Tahitian language and then you look at Maori language, there's very few similarities. Like, there's very few in terms of words. The most similarities that you can put together between different, especially Tahitian and Maori, is like different words like nui, which means like great or large, or it's an implication of something that's more expanded, right? Or roa, which is representing of something being long. So they're more like, what do they call them? Suffixes. So like after the word, like, but the actual word itself does not actually correlate, like all the way down to like certain words like welcome. And like probably the closest thing might be kia ora. In Māori they say kia ora, and then in Cook Islands they say kia orana. You'd be better off trying to get someone from Samoan culture, and even then that's still not very similar for you to be able to translate. So I don't really get this whole story about them getting some Tahitian priest and then bringing him to translate for them. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't really add up at all. So regardless, you know, this also ties back into my other video. If you guys want to see, I made another video. It's called anti-spirituality or anti-witchcraft, anti-paganism is racism. And so I talk a little bit more about this kind of topic in that video as well, and how, like, as you can tell by what the title is, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. I won't go too deep into that. But yeah, it's all just a representation of what we were already practicing, what we were already doing, which was a form of animism, which is a form of looking at the nature around us, analyzing the atmosphere, and seeing the different characteristics of the atmosphere, caring for that atmosphere as well. You know, nowadays people will say, oh, you know, like it's all about like connecting to the earth, grounding, connecting to Mother Earth, like they have these modern terms, but like in multicultural, that was literally our spiritual system. What we had names for these things: Papa Tuanuku, Ranginui, or Sky Father, as they would say in. That's not even the literal translation, but you get the idea. But yeah, all of these things are literally just our culture. So you translate them into English, and nowadays people will say, "Oh, that's witchcraft, and that's this." If you worship and you see the earth as being, that's witchcraft, or but like it to us, it's not about worshipping. It's about caring for the earth. It's about respecting the earth. It's about being a kaitiaki or guardian of the earth, right? All of these things are important because without the earth, we wouldn't be able to survive. We know that the plants and the animals and the different bugs and the different seeds and the different elements as well all provide for us. So we should provide for them. It's like a give and take relationship. But nowadays, modern culture don't even have that concept. And then they would look at those kind of things and they would be like, why do you care about nature so much? Why do you care about this so much? Because that is the literal thing that you are sustaining yourself off. But people are so disconnected because now you can go into the supermarket and you can just buy something off the shelf from nature, as opposed to actually realizing that all of these things are provided for you by nature. You know what I mean? So it's crazy shit. It's crazy shit. But, don't get it twisted. The system is set up that way on purpose because it's a form of colonization, because they want you to rely on them. They think about it more like this. Well, if you guys revere nature, you guys respect nature, you guys want to be kaitiaki, right? Then they're going to become that. So they'll become like the face of nature. They'll become the face of all these different things that we revere and respect and are so grateful for. And our spiritual systems are based off of. So then when they become that, then they see themselves as like a form of a god. So that's how they can kind of play God. And they play it on everyone, like even people who's not from that culture originally. So it's really messed up. It's fucked up, you know. But this is the world we live in, so gotta make do with what you got and make a difference where you can, instead of sitting around and bitching and complaining. I just more want to bring awareness to any other, maybe other Maori people or just people in general who are into New Age spirituality. You guys are definitely kind of, you guys are copying that tribal kind of aspect. And it's not to say that it's bad. It's not to say that you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? If anything, it's definitely something that we should all strive to aim towards, getting more into our tribal energies. But when it comes to our culture, you have to understand what's what and where is where. And especially considering like a lot of people base their religion and will say that all of this stuff is negative, to kind of do rituals and to kind of heal using natural remedies, to kind of do like spiritual or energetic healings. A lot of people will say this is negative, this is bad, but those are all forms of colonization. Those are all actually the white man trying to colonize everyone and trying to get everyone to destroy our cultures, destroy our tribal systems, our traditional systems of spirituality. And now we have to go to them and rely on them. So then you can go to their doctors, and instead of us going to the tohunga and getting help from the tohunga and revering the tohunga and respecting the tohunga, they wanted to become the tohunga. So then they invented shit like the doctors and all of this stuff. So now you have to go pay for the doctor, and you don't even realize what you're actually doing. You're giving money to someone who might not necessarily actually have any remedy for you. And that's not just diss any doctors. There's definitely good ones out there, but it's just putting things into perspective so and you can see how they try to play God in every aspect of your life, and they try to be that like support system in every aspect of your life, but in a negative way, where now you're relying on them. Whereas back in the day, the tohunga would have helped you, but the tohunga would have also told you how to help yourself, rather than having you rely on the tohunga, So it's like twisted ass shit. They got everyone in twisted ass system. But that's a little introductory video. I will get deeper into this, you know. I'll do definitely more videos, but you know, that was just a little like kind of basic rundown of it, so people can get an idea of it as well, and they can get an idea of what I talk about when I talk about whole native hobbyism or animism and stuff like that. And then you can actually see things from a proper perspective instead of thinking that you're following some kind of new age thing when really it's just something that we've been doing for fucking centuries. Long before Europeans came, long before you guys even had internet, long before any fucking new age bullshit came to the surface, you know? And, you know, let everybody practice what they want to practice. Respect everybody's culture, respect everybody's spiritual system. Just because I do something that you may not, you know, adhere to or you may not agree with, doesn't mean that it's wrong or demonic. Actually, maybe just the one that is demonic is the one who's trying to shun someone and stop them from practicing their own traditional spiritual systems. How about that? I'll see you guys for the next video.